to fiddle with these first. So basically the idea is that it will make the low density structures, RCUs and rocket fuel in order to do 500 white science a minute on the base. And what we therefore need to do is make sure these are big enough and that they work for the, the amount of material coming in the belts. I've just realised those are different, aren't they, to what the maths I've done? Because if I take that out, what does that count as? Oh, its effect source is 4, isn't it? And I think I've done it with 6. Because I'm an idiot. So, let's see if I can just bring that up. That is unfortunate. What do the settings say? Yeah, I've done it with 6. Idiot. Would it affect... It'll probably affect everything. Oh, bum. Okay, so I need to drop that down to 4. Yeah. Drop that down to 4. All the way across. Those fine. Defaults. Yeah, okay, so that changes all the numbers, doesn't it? Oh, that's annoying. I mean, it's not that annoying, it's just I've got to refer to the Factorio lab thing rather than the little notepad one. It's just easier to look at. Because I need... Wait. Oh, I thought I changed the wrong thing then. Yeah, because that puts it more close to one rocket silo with, 4 beacons on it, which is kind of what it is. Okay, so that's a slight slight error on my part, because basically I calculated before I needed 30 RCUs. I don't need 30 RCUs. I need 42.6 RCUs. Machines making RCUs, basically. And I don't, if it's 42 and, or maybe we go with 45 or something like that, I'm not, dead set on it being exactly 500 science. So it's 42.6 RCUs. And then it's 45.5 rocket fuel. So these numbers are a lot bigger. It's because the machines are running almost half the speed, basically. Where are... So apologies for looking at something weirdly off screen. I thought I'd set this up. We need 32.4 density structures. But I have not, because I've made an error. I'm going to blame the heat. Yes, so I say these are probably fine, and it's just a case of having more of them. That's probably the difference. It's not. I don't think it really changes a lot, but I say it just these don't produce stuff as quick, so we need more of them basically. So if we look in terms of express belt, I guess, because I want to check. Yeah, when I built this was exactly 2 lanes worth of copper, and that's all you can feed into it without extra. We could put extra lanes in, but we'd have to weave them around and stuff. Okay, so that's that. So if I need 32.4, how many have actually got here? Isn't this 30? Yes, this is 30. So actually, it kind of works out okay. I think, because... What does it? Maybe the default should be, like 10? 20 rather. So 2 of these. Okay. Because basically, the new idea, I didn't really explain it properly, but the new idea, as I was going through it, I'm going to blueprint this just to save it for later. Just put a little circuit on it. Whoops. So it's just, I've probably already done that, but... So I'll just put it, oops. Oh. I want that one to be there. Thank you. Basically this one, I think, yeah, if we make it half the size, a third of the size. So if I chop this off, basically, so it doesn't have this bit on the end, right? And then the blueprint is, you know, half the size, basically. Is 2 of them. Half the size. Honestly, my brain is mush. Actually. But the whole reason for not streaming yesterday and Friday, that's the change, is to try and... Wait, there does need to be another one, doesn't there? Because, yeah, that should be there. Was to try and get some space to do packing for my move. Not that I can actually move until months, but you know, the idea was to do that. And then there's a blooming heat wave, and it's like, I'm so hot. So yes, the idea we would need 2 of those, basically. Okay, and I'm guessing it's the similar sort of situation with the RCUs, where in order to do... How many have we got? We've got 30, and we want 42.6. So if I was to chop this down, because what I could probably end up... Oh no, I haven't got 30 though, have I? I've got that many, which is 24. So half of 42 is 21. So 22. So this is probably okay. Going to slightly overproduce, but RCUs are, you know, fine elsewhere. I'm just wondering about this one, whether this should be... Maybe I should just keep it as it was, and there's just 2 of them, basically. Because it gives me a chance to put more stuff into chests for other, you know, like for Spidertrons and stuff like that. So it looks like this build it's just I need 2 of them. So the build's fine, I just need 2 of them. Okay, well that's convenient. I wasn't quite expecting it to be that. But what I think I'll do is I will add on, because it's definitely overproducing if there's 2 of them, we'll put in a little chesticle. And I want to... No, let's just do a fast. That's on the wrong side, isn't it? And then this is for low density structures. And you only turn on if there's... I don't know, 50? It's quite a lot, that. But as I say, they're used in quite heavy numbers in the other productions. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. And then we'll have a similar thing here. So these are nice and available. And you need to be connected on this one. Should I put that as... Yeah, that'll do. Like that. Cool. I guess I could put a robot port in somewhere, but... It would be covered because it needs connected to the network. We could put one at the back. Nah, let's leave it. Yes, so these builds are fine, basically. All we need to do is tweak it now to add in that little chest. And then tweak that one to add in that little chest. So those are fine. Okay. So what does this actually do? So on my numbers, 45.5 things, and I've got 40. Is it overproducing solid fuel or anything like that? It's really difficult to tell with this, isn't it? Because I mean, almost certainly, yeah, we're way over, aren't we? Okay. So in terms of mass, amount of stuff travelling through, are these going to demand more than an express belt's worth? No, it's only half a express belt, and we've got two belts worth. Okay, so I could easily add on an extra module here, so an extra bit of this. I didn't grab everything like that. Because one of the things that's going to come in is more oil, basically. So there's going to be extra oil coming in. Because these were definitely going to starve because there won't be enough oil with just that one production. But if I add in that extra thing, I think that's fine. So they probably won't be able to run. There'll probably be too few machines. Well, it depends. You see, it depends. You see, I don't really know. You know, it's whether or not this works, and there's no real way of testing that without testing it because of how fluids work. But we can just tweak that. I suppose I should check. Does that actually do on its own? So it's saying 10 machines down, and I didn't look at the fluid. I don't know what it's saying. But yeah, hopefully those 10 machines is accounted for by them, is the sort of fingers crossed hope. God only knows. What we could do, though, is maybe put rocket fuel in a chest as well. Yeah, go on then. So, put that in now. So you need to connect, and I need to turn on that. So we'll put this quite high, I think. Okay, and now we want to tweak that one. Like that. Awesome sauce. So I think I'm happy with them. I mean, let's make a little blueprint book. I thought they'd need more tweaking, if I'm honest, but it's not a problem. So we want the solid to light, what's that, the rocket. And then you want, yeah. So that's the fuel ones. And then you've got your low density structures and RCUs there. Okay. So this is the rocket blueprint. Okay. Yeah, so that was a lot simpler than I thought. They obviously weren't far off. But the idea is basically then, so I'll get rid of this. So I blueprinted it. The idea is basically we'll have an extra sort of set of train stations and processing here on the other side. You know, in order to feed this in, basically. So the oil one is sorted. That would just be exactly the same as it is here, just stamped down again. Exactly the same oil station, so we don't actually need to bother with that. In terms of iron and copper, I didn't look at the numbers, but basically, yeah, my thought process is I can literally just plop in what I need to. So, you know, for this, according to this, we're going to need a fifth of a belt of steel, so that's just an iron, you know. 2 belts of copper, because each build produces more than a belt, you see. So is it really only 2 belts of copper? Oh, I didn't put the extra ones in, so I need to just put those in so that it'll do the maths correct. So, because we've got the solid fuel ready, so I just need another one of these and another one of those. Yeah, okay, so let's do the maths again. Hopefully I've got everything there. Yeah, so 4 belts of copper. Well, that's just a train station of copper. Huh, why is it not saying iron? That's odd. I guess because the iron's on that side, steel's on that side? Interesting. But basically, yes, so what we would have here is I would just put in more. So it's like a booster to the system. And anything that's still here, you know, that's still on the bus, it's going to feed extra things into the bus is the basic point. So, you know, it adds in extra. So by the time we get up here, you know, all of the copper will have been moved into a single lane, all of the iron into a single lane, but still have the iron and steel and stuff. But everything else gets added into the bus. So any of the production down the bottom here is like in priority. And then this stuff here is extra. So it's, although it's 4 lanes of copper, there's probably a bit of copper left, as we know from before. So it's not actually going to use the 4 lanes. I shouldn't have turned it off. But, you know, it's just a train station's worth, 4 lanes. And then things like plastic and stuff, it's just only well, that's the point. There's no plastic production, isn't it? But I can put in another, you know, it'll just be another of these, basically. So it's just more. Oh, I've not stamped them down. But there should be more. There's a plastic build, basically. It's just that again. A cup. I think one of them produces a belt of plastic. And basically, the idea is that the only things we're going to bring in, you know, are more copper, more iron, because the iron will smelt into steel. I think I do need possibly 2 train stations worth of iron. That's what I was going to put the thing in, but it's only for, because the green circuits is the new build that I'll be adding, as it were. That's the basic point I'm trying to sort of get to. So it's so hot, I can't explain just how hot it is. And I know it gets hotter in other countries, but it's just like, you know, in the UK we're not used to this. So let's put in that one and see what it does, because I think one of these, let's find the electric furnace 2. So that's the electric boogaloo. I don't know, I'll need to go and put in iron plate. Oh, is that not on my list of... Oh, I never reset these, did I? I forgot about them. So those should all be on steel. Yep. So now we can do a mathsing. I think I need 2 of them. It should now tell me what iron plate I need. I think it'll tell me all of it. Yeah, so it's 1.1. Oh, is that it? So it's 1.1 belts worth of iron plate. But then we're short by a whole stack of those. Okay, so if I put one of those in again, and we go and do this again. Like so. Oh, don't want to get the rocket in because it goes a bit funky. Whew. Okay, so now it's saying 2, but that's, you know, massively overproducing steel. So 2 belts of iron is all we need to bring in order to make steel. That's sort of the point, basically, because what we're going to do is going to have an off-site green circuit build, right? Would that be right? I probably do need more copper, don't I? And then on-site, in fact, let's put them all in. Let's just stop messing about, pretending it's all fine. What we need to do is we're going to need... So it was 2 builds of iron. Lost count. Right. Oops. And then I think it said something like 24 machines. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. And then we know it's 4 copper. We know it's 4 of these at the very least. It'll probably be a bit more, as I was saying. But then they produce more than a belt's worth. Anyway, it's level 2 one. It's like 1.2 belts each. Or I actually switched it up so that it does produce a full belt of copper. And then we would have... The reason I want to offsite the green production is, because we'll just end up needing so much of it full stop. So might as well start, the idea is to start transitioning to our off-site production. So we got the smelting. What do we need? We need circuits, but the blue and the red we might as well just make here, is kind of what I'm thinking. So I'll put in this. I'll have to chop it down though, because I wouldn't intend to put like a full one in. I think I actually need a couple of these anyway. But we'll see. Right, so what does this look like? Ooh, what is the maths? So, yeah, we're way down on green, red machines too. So it's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 30. So another one of them, as suspected. But then how much are we overproducing with the... It says 8 machines too many with the blue, actually. So if I chop them off. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's closer. And it almost halves the red demand. Although, of course, we've got the red in the low density structures, so it'd probably still be a bit under. Yeah, so we do need another one of those. Oh, we're blooming. So let's just do that. So I do still have too much steel, so I could chop that down. So we need another red machine. Interesting that we are so positive on iron plate. That's interesting. So I put the 2 blue ones back in. Yeah, so we do. I mean, we need another red building. No matter what. So let's put another one of them in. So that's that. You see, we're 5 smelters over. Six machines. Now we're 37 and under. That's a bit of a swing. I wonder how it's worked that out. See, why is it saying that? Oh, I know why. Because we're nowhere near producing. Yeah, okay. So it's saying we're 7 machines. 7 of those still under. Then I've got too many smelters, steel smelters still. So we could chop them. And what are you doing? So I don't know with the green whether it's including. Including that in the math. It probably is, isn't it? Can I just take it out of the list? No. So if we put in a green circuit producer, because it's only... So what does that do to the maths? So half machine down, but yeah, it's now gone up to 114 though. Okay. So is it this bit that's short still? No. Where's the... Oh, it's the copper from the... Because there should be 4 lanes of copper. Yeah. 4 lanes of copper. 2.3 lanes of copper. Which one of these doesn't produce? Oh, you see, that's 1.3 lanes worth. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's producing 5.3 lanes. This needs 2.3 lanes. So it's a lane short. Where's it getting the rest from then? Because we've got that, which is 2 lanes. That, oops. That, which is, so it's 4 lanes. Plus 6 6.3 lanes. So we're only a lane short. Wonder where it's getting the extra from. I guess it's the maths that works this out. But basically there needs to be an extra lane of copper, doesn't there? Okay. But the iron was alright no matter what the funky maths has done. Mr. Machine off there. Oh, it is 6.3. And I'm only producing 5.3. Yes, I'm a lane short of copper. And I'm ever so slightly short of iron. So given that there's going to be some left of both of those, as well as steel, green, and probably blue circuits maybe, but red circuits and green maybe, I think I'm happy with the maths of that, even though it's showing lots of negatives. Okay, so this would be what I would build. I mean, there's the oil as well, but as I say, I don't really know how the maths of this one works until it's down, really. You know, and sort of running. But yeah, there'd be. I can't. Is this two lanes of plastic? I don't think it is it? It's like one lane of plastic. Oh, it's just over, and then this is. Well, one. So maybe we'd end up with two of those, or maybe there's a bit left of the plastic. But yeah, so that's that. So there's then a bunch of stations. And I think I might try and do a different sort of stacking system. Like a single stacker with all the stations on. But yeah, it's basically, you know, we need one iron station that also makes the steel, one copper station, one oil station, one green circuit station. We make red and blue out of the green circuits. And that gives us everything we need because we get the plastic and the oil. Because these need plastic, copper and steel, which we've got. These need basically blue circuits and speed modules, which red and green circuits we're making. This needs all of the oils, whatever's available. And that's what we're making there. This needs plastic as well as the copper. That's there. Yeah, so back to where we were, basically. That's the eventual conclusion. And I think what I had put together, this little jobby here, I think it's fine in terms of production, or it's what I'm after anyway. As like a general thing. Oh, has it got producers in it? What the heck is going on here? I don't know what I was doing there. Was this me messing about with something else? And that's 12 beacons, so we don't want that. I'm not sure what all that rubbish is. Why is there no power? So we'll tramp through. Because I think I worked out. Did I not? That this, well, that's a bit of a weird arrangement, does provide what we need. Am I just going to pop one in somewhere? And it's really about the trains now. So it's about sort of arranging the trains. Let's just put this sort of here and that bit so it stops blinking at me. And so it's really about the trains. Because one of the things I didn't think about last time was whether or not I still want to be on 141 trains. That was not something I considered. Why have I got all them red beakers? What have I been doing? Yeah, whether or not I want to be on red, you know, red trains. 141 trains. Still. Do I want to move up to 242 trains? Do I want to switch to a one-headed system? I mean, that's conveniently similar size, isn't it? Obviously, we don't have to do some belt shenanigans, but to get things loaded in. But wow, that's a very similar sort of size. Because I'm wondering, do I make this? Because what I've not really thought about, as I say, is the sort of connection side of it. So it'd be quite convenient to sort of have a system where, you know, I mean, it's obviously not going to be here, but, you know, there's a couple of stations there, and that's the load in. And then this is the load out. And they could always, I can't flip it, but there could be a flipped version. So I can't flip it without taking stations out. But the mirror side, so you've then got two trains there. I could potentially do something, it's a little bit funky. And then this would be the, like this. So it's a crossing, which is like, you know, well, is that not in the right place then? Can I get that closer then? No. It's weird that it looks like. Oops. I mean, it's terrible for throughput purposes. But, you know, the trains are going to take a while to fill up. As they always do. That's better. I wonder what was wrong before. And in fact, yeah, so this would be like they pull in. Have I got any signals? I don't think I've got any signals, have I? No. So what would this be? This would be like that, wouldn't it? And then this needs to be like that. So when they're coming in, yeah, this is an in, and this is an out. Come in, that stops them. And I could then potentially, you see, I could use logic. I could do it with a logic system. And then this just attaches. I don't think it's going to work because the throughput on my rail system is going to be quite a limiting factor. Particularly the way I've signalled it. Signalled it. What does that mean to go there? Misigling wrongs. It's misigling. Misigling is wrong. Obviously, there's no stacking either. But I say I could logic it so that this only opens when there's a train's worth, and it's literally limited to one train. So, I mean, you don't even have to logic it, do you? You can just put it as a train limit, which stops it having to do all sorts of calculation. It's just, there's one train, and then we literally put enough box space to hold a train's worth of stuff. So if it's one stack over 4, so it would be that, I think. But then we probably do want a little bit of a buffer while they're pulling in and out, sort of thing. So it's not going to be a massive oversupply. Obviously, I can't put that in. Well, it's just good. And I could even double side load it because that'll fit there. You know, we could move all of this up. Where's it going to need to be? Probably there. Well, why don't I just paste that in? Oh yeah, that's a lot of gubbins. Oh, I can't do that though, can I? Because there's not enough room. Because they're going to have belts on. So scrap that bit. Don't know why I started doing that by hand, I just did. Don't imagine I can have them. Blimey neck. Something like that. Do I need more room to... I mean, we could just have 4 chests. And then I could do a super simple loading. In fact, how does that work? How would that work out? Would that work? So if, oops. If it was that. And then, how do I get that one over? Just trying to think of a way of sort of hopping over to do this here as well. I'm not quite sure why I'm being so compact with it. But then how would I load it in if it's that close? I can't reach it, can I? So this needs to be at least 1 square further. Oh, you know, 2 squares, but 1 square. From a train point of view, further up. So it needs to be there. Humph. In fact, could I make this in the middle? And then it's there, and oh, maybe it's that. And then, oops, get rid of them. Is that then goes to... So slightly differently arranged, aren't they? But yeah. That's fine. In fact, it doesn't really need to be a thing, doesn't it? So it is a train's worth, as I say. Maybe we want a little bit of buffer while trains are pulling in and out. So that works. I'm just wondering, I keep thinking I can put it on the inside, but I could for one of them, but probably not. In fact, I don't think I could actually, could I? If I put that there. No, it doesn't even fit in like that. Are these loading evenly? If I limit that. Is it flowing 100%? It isn't, is it? So they aren't actually fully loading. How big is a 1 to 6 then? One to 6. Probably fit it in the same space, I think. My mental calculation is telling me, but let's see. So if it's there, and then if I flip it, I'll keep that one like that. So then, how do I get that one across? How do I get that one across? So this is a right mess, isn't it? I know these aren't very UPS efficient, these things, but and in fact I need to put these back in, don't I? I should swap these out for... oh. Oops. Actually. Swap these for voiders. Okay. So just assume as a continuous flow. But some of these machines are backed up. No, looks okay. These have got filled up from when it was there. If we take the carriages out, it's not very good to test this, but just want to make sure they are basically even. Yeah, not far off. So about 120 in each there. 132. Yeah, so it is being basically even. Just thinking about pollution actually. That's okay. So this becomes a green circuit pickup. Yeah, so train letter 1, so no more than one train could ever get here. And then it's just up to the system. Because I don't know how smart I want it to be in a sense. Because dumb is sort of more UPS efficient, but do I really care about UPS? Just do the business. Do I want lights on it as well? Because I'm fairly happy with this as a design of the green circuit side. This is all fine. In fact, let's take a copy of that. Flippity flop it over. Have to miss out there. So I want to clip it. Oh, I got a station, excellent. So if I do all of that, is that right? So it's now symmetrical. Do I want to colour train stops in? I always find that a bit of a faff, to be honest with you. Because I don't think it takes them, does it? In the blueprint and stuff. So it loads up with just ever so slightly more train. I think it'd need to be one of those systems where there's always like 1, 2 few trains, so that there's always a green stop available. So even if they're all sat at the green stop, there's always one slot. So if a train goes off. Because if you have exactly the same number and you're using a dumb system like this, you can end up with deadlock, I think, because... No, I don't think you would actually, but I'll leave that for the time being. The question is whether I have like copper and iron being like buffered, or is there a stacker on this? I both kind of like this and hate it. Because train coming in here, what is that? That's a chain signal? Yeah. So train coming there has to... Well, it wouldn't be, you see. This is sort of the point. I guess it's worth having the chain on it, but it's this one where it'd have to do waiting if there's anything on the track. I guess it would have to wait if this one was pulling out and it wanted to go here. That's it. But you know, a regular signal would do that. But that's fine. That's fine. And the other option is I load it into one. You know, we load it on this. You know, loads into that side. I guess we could see what is the load time. So that's empty. And it's had a little time to buffer a little bit in the chests. So start about 350. At what point do we fill? I'm starting that. It doesn't matter if it's inaccurate. It's just to get a feel. I think they've hit the point where they've emptied they've emptied the chests. So it's that really matters, isn't it? So if I was to put some kind of logic system on this, it would have to be a, you know, a turning off E, turning on E. Oh, let's forget combinators and let's grab some of that in there. Oh, sorry. So if we were to do a super dumb system, is it S for this? I can't remember what no, that's wrong, isn't it? Oh, I don't think this is a good idea in this heat. I want to decide a combinator. Yeah, this is probably a bit easier. And it's just that there's more than a train's worth, basically. I don't know how much is a train's worth. 64,000, is that? Now, how much have you got in you? You've got 32,000 in you. So not 64, 32. And then your output, so I think it's S for stop. And we'll need to wire all of these in. Oops. Rewire. Where did I get to? What signal are you getting? 18,000. Why are you getting a signal of 18,000? And there's nothing in the boxes. Or is there stuff in the boxes? Oh, of course there is. Hey. It's going well. It's going well. It's going well. So... enable disable. No. Train limit is L. Okay. What's the L signal? S signal. So we'll leave that to transfer. But once there's a train's worth, but this is the trouble with this type of thing, because it could be unevenly filled because of some error of, you know, production. And so it would send a signal, but it wouldn't actually have enough to fill it, because there's no balancing on it, basically. So say these top ones, you know, get starved of resources for some reason, then it would, you know, these boxes wouldn't quite be full. Okay. It shouldn't matter in the long term, but so it's my problem with that. Doing that type of thing every time. Right. I think I am going to have it load in on both sides with another one here. Yeah, I think I prefer that idea. So, chain signal because that, chain signal because that. Doesn't sort of relevant those, I think, aren't they? But reason I prefer it is that means I can probably put a stacker on this side and loop these trains around. And that way we've always got a bit of sort of contingency. It does mean this isn't a loop then, doesn't it? Oh, no, I don't want to do it anyway, because these don't use... How much do they use? Yeah, it's almost 4 belts worth. Okay. I was a bit dumb then. I thought I was getting... You know, I could have half the stuff go to one and half stuff go to the other, but it isn't. It's basically a train's worth becomes a train's worth. Yeah, okay. That's fine though. Lights. Camera action. I never put lights on this, did I? Oh, I did. It's already got lights on. Oh, that's fine then. Let's put one of these in, just sort of over here. No, let's put it here. Connect this up to, say, which side? That side. Needs a radar on it. Cool. So, question now is how am I hooking these up? Should I just take them off, stop the machines dragging away? If I move them up here, I know what way around everything needs to be. Because these can't be these close anyway. We know that. But what I'm thinking... Am I thinking? So if we do it on that side... Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's because I've left the station on there. Because I don't know if I want stacking. This is the problem. I might do that. So, where do I need this to load out? So the copper needs to be coming out of there. So it's all quite uneven, isn't it? So we're going to need like redirectional belts, basically. So, in fact, let's just grab... Oh, I can't. So this was copper. And how far over can that go? So that's the maximum. So copper's on the inside. And copper's on the outside. And copper's on the inside. So what's that? So that's copper. No, that's iron. Oh wait, that's iron. Got that the wrong way around. That's copper, isn't it? So that one needs to be there. And then this must be iron? Yes, iron. So, is there any way I could fit the trains in? Because the copper needs to load in there, and there. Yeah. You know, can I outload? Here, basically. In such a way that there's a train in the middle there. I don't know if it's going to be possible, is it? No. Not least of all because of train shenanigans. But it could... How far will that underground? So they all go to there. Maximum length. Can I put a train in there? And have it unload on the other side? Have I still got... Let's just put... So what does this mean? This means that because it needs to be unload, doesn't it? So that's like the maximum closeness. Because we could do that one there. Oops. Where's me upload this? So that's that one. The next one is this one, isn't it? But how do I get that around it, as it were? Well, I mean, we don't have to necessarily unload it all together, but then they're going to interact with that one. So, oops. Move this closer. Gives a bit of wiggle room. And then they both need to feed into one here. I'm going to get accidental side load in there though, aren't I? I could. Could I? No, that wouldn't work. The trouble is, if I move it, if I say, right, well, let's move the train that way a bit, we're still going to have issues, are we? Let's try moving it up. See what it does. So, instead of there, what does that look like? What's that file? Because that's the iron one, isn't it? And that's the iron one. So this is the copper. And this is the copper. Cooper. The Cooper. So there we can put all four together. Where would that one be? That one's there though, you see. But those were too close, didn't I? It needs to be there. So these are wherever, you know, it doesn't matter. It's now unaffected. That needs to be the iron. So it comes through there. This also needs to be iron. So I think I'm just moving the same issue down to a different different thing, because that's now... Oh, that's the copper anyway, so it really doesn't work there. Because I've no way of unloading any of them. Okay, so that doesn't really work. That's the basic summation there. That didn't really work, having that all in so close. Okay. What about if we give ourselves some room? If we were to try and unload copper into these stations, how much room need it to be there? Because that's the middle. And that's the other slight annoyance in that it's never going to line up properly with these. Let's just put, so this is still a 141 train. Oh god, it's hot. If we're doing, say, 4 box unloading, and doing that, I can move these over to suit. But does it even fit is the question. Other way around. So not really, because that would interact, but as I say, we can move that to there. And maybe we do that just to keep it even, but or symmetrical or something, but so that gives a little bit of wiggle room. Like that. Oh. Now the others are completely and horribly in the wrong place, aren't they? Because if I move it one tile, if I move these two one tile, one over to there, they'll interact with this and cause it to go side loading. And that's what I would need. You know, it would fit through there, but these would need to be slightly over. If I move them slightly over, they're going to interact with that. So this would have to be one further out. Like that, or one train further out, you know, train tile further out, and then we could do that. Like that. Let's just put these in. They're all sort of even. Out. We're going to need a between those two, but it's okay. So this can go sort of anywhere we need it to be, I think now. Oops. So now. Let's just put it in like this, more to remind me where it needs to go. Like that. So because it's those two, isn't it? So we then get a little bit about there. Like that. Oops. Wait, no, that's right. So we get some weirdness because of the... Oh no, I've mixed... No, because we're doing two by one grid and, you know, 2 by 2 grid into 1 by 1 grid. So it looks a bit weird. I do think maybe I should just ignore sort of symmetry for those. Because that's fine. I don't think I ever finished the one. I haven't been streaming on Friday and Saturday to, in order to make sort of time, make space available to do packing. And then we've had this heat wave this weekend, and I tried to do some packing, just completely, blew me out. Basically, I was just sweating buckets, and I could do very little really. So it's all a bit. I should have just streamed or something instead. But the forecast is for better weather in terms of packing and stuff for next weekend. So hopefully I can do a bit more of it then. But it was a bit sort of. I didn't really even play anything last night. I just caught up on the second season of The Terror. Which it's been good. I don't think it's quite as good as the first season. Because it's more like a horror, they're doing it like a horror anthology. I think they did want to do a third one, but I think COVID got in the way. But yeah, not quite as impressed. I think the difference really, because the second one's set in a Japanese-American community, just after the... Well, it's around the American, Pearl Harbor and all that sort of stuff. Sort of one of the problems with it is it's like contextually different, because how to put it, it's entirely contained within a Japanese community, so sort of ghosts and stuff they're talking about, I don't think it's any, the mystical elements, shall we say, are that feels like it could be less, or yeah, okay, that's a bit better. It's the difference between sort of, I mean, if the first series had been, I think Inuit, is it? And it was like one of the characters was that, but the sort of point of it was almost sort of British, ship being sort of stranded, or being terrorised by this thing that was out, like an outside context problem. So sort of a what the heck is that type situation. And it's that added to the mystery, and they have done mystery in this. It does, it is there, but it's a bit less, particularly if you know any Japanese folklore and stuff. It's like, well, it's fairly standard to that. It's not nothing. Basically the characters know what it is, if you see what I mean. Which in the first one they didn't. They needed the Inuit, the native people, sort of explain it to them in a sense. But this one, it's just like, well, it's this thing that's part of our culture. You know what I mean? It's also not scary. There's less. Well, for me anyway. Maybe it's just this one hasn't worked for me. But I haven't really found it all that scary. Not even like any jump scares and stuff. Not even bother doing that. So that gives me what? 2 trains. One pulling in and doing, say, copper. Again, do I want to colour it in? What would it be? I guess it'd be red, but sort of slightly orangey. Is that sort of orangey? Yeah. So this would be like copper plate drop off. Do we want it? I say this was where it gets into the, I don't know what I want to do in terms of stacking. So, and this would be iron plate, which what do we want to make that? I like blue maybe, since the game uses a blue. So we've got an iron plate drop off and a copper plate drop off. Do I want any logic on these? I'm going to have to, aren't I? So actually this needs doubling up anyway. Oh, in fact, can I just copy and paste that? Okay. And then... okay. And this needs to be... should I keep it at 60-32? So actually, these do need to be less, don't they? I think. Oops. I think I disconnected something there, didn't I? Oh, it's just the power. Okay. Right, okay, so 32,000. Because I'm doubling it up for speed of loading, basically, so that it loads up almost instantaneously, rather than having multiple trains worth of stuff. That's sort of what I'm thinking. It's quite tall, isn't it? Okay. The question here is, do I go with... oops. So it'll be that now. Oh, why is that? Done a weirdness. All the way around. Because I got, you know, it's double-ended trains, basically, is what I'm currently doing. And obviously I could do, you know, the double-end, you know, I could have turnarounds just in the, you know, the smelting side of things. So I could take them out like this. I wonder, can I line this up with my straight rail? Does that make any sense at all? So if this was the junction, what are we doing? So it'd be a T junction maybe. So let's just make sure it's proper T junction, properly signalled. My system. Now if they're coming in here, left-hand drive, and they're going out here, got them sharing that piece of track. Is that sensible? It's probably not sensible, is it? I wonder if I could do it in a sort of a fake city blocks style, because I'm sort of imagining a whole like section of green circuit builds, essentially. Yeah, I kind of want, you know, so. So I can, you know, I can have them going down this way. Have, you know, coming in and out there, sort of thing, maybe. Or what? How do I want to do it? Because these are too close. I couldn't do... This is why I end up with my weird, you know, loop-de-loopy stacker thing. Because ideally what I'd want... I mean, I could go diagonal, couldn't I? And that would let me put some stackers in. I do the diagonal, and then it sort of doesn't make... It's like takes up more room and stuff than... You know, than just doing my loop-de-loopy thing. Because that's like the diagonal stacker, isn't it? Because the diagonal's not great in this game, because it's 45 degrees. Because how big would it need to be? I mean, I could... So that is input. I could have them pull straight through, but then these are too close to do. And I can't, because that's the maximum distance? Yeah. I'd need there to be... Train would need to be there. I mean, I could put another... Some underground, an underground there type of thing. Could do that. And then they basically all exit from this, you know, from here. But enter from there. So it stops being a two-way train, effectively. It becomes a one-way train. So that's one option. Another option is to use the two-way. And we could have... I mean, this could just connect, the first one. Why are you doing that? Why are you auto-completing it like that? So that could be there. And then the stacky side is here. And I just control, I don't, you know, maybe I set it to 2 sort of thing. You see what I mean? It doesn't, I don't really see how it sort of saves a lot of space when you do diagonal stackers. I know you can build it such that that's how it works, as it were, but I'm sort of fitting it into a train station system that I've not done that with. You know, I've got these very super compact T-junctions going on. And I'm saying, if I say, right, well, we want a stacker, in quotes here, it's not really a stacker, but capacity for, say, a second train, then we end up with something like this on there. Again, tidy up. I mean, they could be closer if I'm doing that. Could they? Can I get a signal in now? Yeah, I can get signals in there. Wrong signal. But then I got this bottleneck effect. So... And I need both, but I need both to go to both, you see. When the other way of doing it, it would be more generally compact, would be, think of it more in vertical terms. So in other words, the main line or whatever, oops, is here. And then we have this connects on that side. Oops. Say this connects on that side. And these connect on this side, maybe. Could even have it, maybe, that... Would that be possible? That might get a bit weird. But it could loop back round on itself. So the trains could come back here. Oops. And then... maybe that's the way to do it. Because there's going to be ever so slightly less flow of trains to these two compared to this one. This one's going to have slightly more. So how tight could I make this? That's about as close as it could get. Do I need it to be... I don't really need it to be 2 trains until it hits the actual junction. You know, 2 tracks. Okay. So first off, I mean, if I can do it, I need to copy this up. Flip it over and all that sort of stuff. So, do one of them. We get that. That. Then flip it. That connects there. Now we want you to like do I need to flip him round? Oh, why are you connecting now? Oh, weird. So that's copper now, isn't it? Yeah. So the copper's on the inside. Oh, didn't copy it. There we go. There we go. Oh, I didn't do it first time. Finger trouble, I think. Right. I got rid of that. So then now we've got so I suppose I could align it. So in terms of sort of fitting it into train segments, you know, if that was the where it is, I could move it 1 or 2 over, either way, but that's where that is. And this is a straight bit. So I quite like the idea of sort of having these all coming in here. Like that, maybe. It'd be quite unwieldy though, isn't it? So I don't have to, the actual station, you know, the actual train doesn't have to be there. It can be, because it's, you know, it's not fluid or anything, so we can move it up. So tighten the whole thing up a bit. from that point of view. So this is for there. But then also, can't I just chuck these in here? Is that going to cause me any problems? So if that's there. In fact, what? Would that work? So maybe this becomes a single. Maybe the whole thing's a loop. Maybe that's the way to do it. So it's not actually a dual entry point. Because I can turn this round, I think. So I can take that and put it here, basically. Oh no, it's not aligned in the same way, is it? And that does matter because it's a six station unloading. Oh, I've been screwed by the dual-sided thing. Does this have the same problem here? So in other words, if that's here, is that going to matter? I just think basically if all the trains coming in this direction. Oh, hello, Solbert. How you doing? Yeah, I'm fine. Well, I'm extremely warm. We're having a bit of a, we're having another heat wave in the UK. Something we're not exactly well prepared for. So I'm a bit warm. How are you doing? How's things? And welcome back. What's the temperature? So I don't know exactly. It's about 35, I think. We had one. How long ago was it? A month ago, something like that. And it got up to 40, over 40 degrees, which AC's. It is. I mean, the AC is a lifesaver, but unfortunately, it's in the other room. We don't have air-conditioned houses. Usually, I mean, it's not. I think they're going to have to start building them like that, but it's not normally air-conditioned housing in the UK, which is part of the problem. I say we're just not set up for this sort of temperature, and so I have an air-conditioned unit, but it basically cools down the room it's in. I've got fans sort of blowing it into this room, but it doesn't make a lot of difference. I mean, it keeps the whole house a bit cooler. You know, it's more about that usually with the AC unit for me. But the actual cold room is my bedroom next door. Because I try and like, you know, pull the temperature down in there so that, because I really struggle to sleep when it's hot. So I try and make it super cold in there, or as cold as I can get it, so that, you know, I can get to sleep, even if I then wake up later on. So I'm sort of thinking maybe I make a big loop, but how can I stack some trains? I mean, I could. Would that work? So maybe these go all the way round? That doesn't seem very efficient. Do I care about that? So if this is, say, up here. So that's all the way up there. It goes all the way round? That doesn't seem very sensible. Feels like there should be, you know, in one way, out the other. So I'd have to change all the trains around then. Also, how do I sort of stack one for these? If I do that. could tighten that up. But where would the best thing be? Fan it. My it's actually working, but not very well. I need to order a tech. Yeah, I've got multiple fans on me now. But I had literally a desk fan here, like blowing straight at my face all morning. But unfortunately, the microphone picks it up if I have it there when I'm streaming. So they're all under the desk, basically. My nether regions are well ventilated. Pleasant thoughts, I know. But, let's see. I mean, I suppose ultimately it is more about lining it up with these more than anything. I probably want a separate connector, but this at least tells me where and how big these would be if they're part of the default system. So I could do it there, or there. That's going to be too tight, isn't it? So what am I trying to achieve with this? If this was to be more like, say, that, and say that's there, I think I'll have to turn the trains around. Because just all the options are sort of a bit rubbish. What would this look like? So if I'm sort of having them all, effectively using this as a stacker. So I could do diagonals, but they always take up a huge amount of room. Anyway, so it's like it's not really saving any room. So if this is a thing coming in here, and say this is the reverse of that, have a flip of that, or flip of that. No. So then I got to turn around, you see. Then I guess I could. No, I don't think it makes sense. So doing space, it means you did everything before? Oh, sorry. So, I don't know if you've seen this series before. So this is, basically, I've never... did you decide what you were going to move on to? I thought when you said space, I thought you meant space exploration. I didn't know if you'd saying you're going to move on to that, but after Crash 302, basically this series. So to go back, I did my first streaming series was Megabase, trying to do a Megabase, and I launched straight into it, and going for 5,000 signs, which was sort of foolish, but it was ages before I even got to Megabasing, because the way I always play is I build things just, fresh each time. I don't have didn't have a standard set of blueprints. So what I'm trying to do with this series is come up with a standard set of blueprints for myself. They're not really intended for everyone else to use, but it's basically, so it's like a Kickstarter, like a science starter base, and then builds the like a product. I don't really know what to call it. This is the Kickstarter really, but it produces all the stuff in order to make a bot base. So it's basically like a bot rush. So all of this gets you up to bots within, I say, it'd probably be like 3 streams or something for me. Whereas it was like 20 streams before I even got to that point. Well, to bots was probably 15 streams or something, but or 10 or something like that. So it's a lot quicker. It's not meant as a speed or anything, but it's just a sort of standardized way for me to build them. And then it's a bus-based system, and the bus is meant to do about 500 science a minute when it's all fully upgraded and fully built and all that sort of stuff. The idea being then, this is effectively like a stealth Megabase series, and I'm then going to move on to making, a Megabase, as it were. But as I say, it's sort of the idea is that this gets you up to like gold and purple science at 500 a minute with this amount of production for the bus. So there's a whole load of meant to be a whole load of smelting here, but then you have to do add-on in order to do white science, space science at that sort of volume, and most of it's like just more trains bringing in more copper and more iron, basically more thing. But I then want to have the first green science, green circuit build, and it's also then the first, proper, build of an actual green science for green circuits for a megabase, and I would then be stamping this down a whole load. And at the moment, it produces, well, I've double-sided it. I'm wondering if that's part of the problem. Maybe I should do away with that. But it's 8 belts worth of green circuits. I think I'm going to abandon that, actually. I think that's probably what's really causing me trouble with the trains. So if we do away with that idea... Yeah, I think I prefer this already. Right, so now all I got to do is work out how I'm connecting this to the main train line. And I can use the fact that, yeah, so the stacking can be on this side. This makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's only like one train each, so I think it's not mega stacking, is the idea. Yes, that's the sort of basic of the idea of this series, is I'm building these blueprints in creative, basically, so that I can then basically blast through when I want to build again. All 500 science minute science. Yeah, so it's like a half megabase. The idea is you do this up to rocket launch, and it then lets you chunk through at least the sort of early productivity, and you can get quite a lot of those done to make expansion sort of sensible. Basically, is sort of my theory, my new theory. It's very satisfying, so it means you already did purple, yellow. Yeah, so those bits are here basically. So this is the yellow belt version, just because that's what I slapped down. But basically, it's an upgradable system. So there's all of these blueprints in here. So this is the science one. I've been doing some practice runs. They're on my YouTube channel. VODs on there, and basically it works quite well. Because all I've really tested is up to the point of having bots, to getting to bots, because that's sort of the most complicated. But I've been playing with somebody else multiplayer. And one thing I've sort of realised is I'm not sure this is quite how I would want to actually do it, because essentially I've got 3 versions of every blueprint, where they're yellow belt, red belt, and blue belt. And I think actually a lot of it I'd want to put down, in a sense, because you've got bots, and the idea is you just slap it all in. And upgrading it's a bit painful, if that makes sense. So I'm wondering about, like, for example, this, effectively getting rid of the yellow belt version, or at least having it so that the yellow belt version has all of the stuff on it, and it's just a case of upgrading it. Upgrading the belt essentially. So all the belts and the machines are there. It's just they don't have recipes. Because one of the things I've found, and I knew it, I knew it, but I didn't know it, if you see what I mean. I sort of didn't really think about it. But you can't, if you put obviously you can upgrade, and you can swap out, you can use an upgrade planner to swap these to level 2 modules. But in order to put other modules in, you can't do that by putting a blueprint on top, if that makes sense. So, you can't put, obviously I'd upgrade them to a green or whatever first, but if you come along and go say, so that's the red belt version. When you plop it on top, I say it would need upgrading to green machines, but it doesn't add in the modules to the recipe. You have to go and do it yourself anyway. So I'm not sure I'm sort of saving myself anything with that. No, so it's my it's I say my excuse for any not thinking things, not thinking properly today is that it's just so hot. Basically, I'm not. I was a bit unsure whether I'd really stream today because it's just so hot here. But no, I thought you were, because I knew you were umming and erring about what your next playthrough is going to be. So I was sort of thinking that maybe you were sort of saying, you decided to do space. So because I just saw the word space, I thought you were saying, you decided to move on to space exploration or something. It's just me completely misinterpreting. Sorry, wasn't paying proper attention because I'm struggling to think a bit. Okay. So am I having the trains? I mean, it sort of makes sense because I think these would end up 3 apart, wouldn't they? So if I... Oh, no, it doesn't line up, does it? So... Because I think... Let's have a look. Just copy it. Oh, train. So if I did that, a train wouldn't fit in, so it would block the entire system. But if I have the junction be there, the train, I say it's almost to move up, but the train will fit in, so that's better for throughput as well. And then I avoid any loop problems as well. Okay. Let's, am I going to move this thing down? I'll move this up. Guess it needs to be a bit more central, doesn't it? It's one of the things. So actually this needs probably moving a bit further over. Let's just get rid of that thing. Oops. Mess of that. Why am I not just using my blueprint? So, I guess I could... Do I want to fake city block it? Oh, hello, Billy. Upgrade Corona can swap modules. Yes, I know I can swap modules. That's not... I didn't really explain that properly. Basically, so when you've got... you can swap them out. But in a blue assembler... Just do that one. You can only put 2 modules in. So basically what I'm saying, if I've got, well, they're level, say, pretend these are level 1, just to get any, then yeah, you can use an upgrade planner to switch them over. In fact, let's just do it. So you can switch them over. So if it was a level 1 and I'd already reached the thing of doing level 2, then yeah, an upgrade planner can swap them. If I do it properly. But what it can't do is add them into the gaps. Oops. So you can do that, say. That's your upgrade planner. I've got a bunch of them. So it's what... Oh. I didn't put them in. No. Do that. So yeah, you can use an upgrade planner and it'll swap them out. So I've not got any on me because I'm longer. Just do that. That. Right. Yeah, that's all great and good. I've got, I say, blueprints to do that. But when you upgrade the machine, you get 2 extra slots. And I don't think, if I can't put that there, or can I? This just occurred to me, this. No. So it won't swap in. If there's nothing there, it won't add in. And if it's on a blueprint, say, for example, so we've got this one here, and it's, oops. Level 2s, because you want 2 more. Well, it's probably more realistic if it's 2 more prod modules. Level 2, getting all mixed up now. Put level 1 in, like that. So that's what you want. So if I do that, so it doesn't matter whether I left click, control click, any clicking, it doesn't add the extra ones into the gap, which is fine in a sense, but I'm not really saving myself a lot of time because basically if I put the yellow version of the belt, the yellow belt version of the blueprint on, and I come along and I want to upgrade it all to red belt, well, I'll just upgrade it to red belt. Having the blueprint, there's a few occasions where I'm adding in extra machines and stuff, but it doesn't put the modules in. So the big thing that's changing between them is upgrading the machines, well, I can just use an upgrade planner. Upgrading the modules, well, I can just use an upgrade planner. And adding extra modules in when it goes to green machines. You can't do that automatically, from what I can tell. You know, I could deconstruct it and build it in place, but what's that really achieving? So I'd have to run round and add in the extra modules anyway. In which case, why have a blueprint for that entire build? Because if I've built it so I need to basically grade. It's like a situation where I basically need to say, right, well, at this point, I'm no longer going to use yellow belt. All the blueprints are going to be red belt. So they'll be upgrading for the yellow belt ones, but the red belt ones, I just build the red belt one. And I don't have a yellow belt one. And I say it's kind of come from the testing I've been doing when I've been multiplayer with somebody else, because it's just become very apparent that actually upgrading them isn't. I was sort of hoping I could just slap the blueprint on top and it would add the modules in, and it doesn't, of course. And I've not really thought about that. I don't think I've really, again, I don't know if I've explained that very well. Can't add more. Actually doing a crazy death world challenge. Already restarted once, we'll probably restart it. Right. It's very hard one player because the number of items. I do one head trains, it's almost always better. Yeah. Yeah, not with that mod. SpaceX taught me that I can no longer play without the module inserter mod. Yeah, I imagine that gets a bit bonkers. SpaceX, because doesn't it have extra levels of modules as well? I'd never really, you sort of hear about these mods and stuff. I'd never really appreciated just how complicated SpaceX was. It's sort of, people always used to talk about bobs and angels together as being like this mega complicated thing. I'm not saying it isn't, but SpaceX is like super complicated. It's of that scale as I've sort of had got taken more of a look at it basically. So did I copy and paste that? So what's the Death World challenge you're doing? Is it just literally playing on a Death World, or is it a scenario one? So if that train was trying to fit in, I couldn't put that like that close, could I? There's my T-junction. Yeah, so if I couldn't put it there, because then the trains would overlap. The edging. So this is like as close as I'd probably want it to be anyway. So I could have it all go through one junction. In fact, if I'm doing it this way, why am I having it vertical? Why not have it that way around? Is that? Or, there maybe? I'm not sure it sort of matters in a sense. It kind of depends on whether I want the connections to the main line to be part of it, and I'm not sure I do. So So it needs to be a lot wider anyway, I think. Unless if it all connect to one junction, it's all... I'm starting to get overwhelmed with options. There's just like so many possibilities. That's wrong way. Well, that'll be out, wouldn't it? And then that's in. So if I was to do that, they'll go into one T-junction. What does that look like? So this is the inroad. Inroad? Input. And then this is output here. Yeah, look, we're going to get quite a complicated junctioning, but I'm not sure what the throughput on this is really going to be. It's going to be quite high because it is. Well, it was sort of 3 or 4 minutes, wasn't it? Though it wasn't that high. So if I do copy it, there. So junction is going to be quite messy. But you know, how many train? Oh, I needed a stacker, didn't I? So that didn't work. Didn't work anyway. They can't go in that route. They need to go in the other route. So need to come in there. It just feels a bit of a waste to have it sort of so, you know, to have this amount of space. I mean, does it matter? It's effectively infinite space, and I'm worrying about squishing it up ever so slightly. Well, if I was to do... So if this was the out way for this, then it would need to go on there. So it's 2 loops. And then this is the in. For these guys. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. No, SpaceX is complex, but by Anna is still king. Yeah, yeah. So where would you say C block rates amongst those then? I suppose it is what it is, isn't it? But how do I get I mean, if this was the in, you see it crosses over, that's what I'm not particularly happy about. In a bit of a messy way. And it is relatively high throughput, I think. It's always going to do that because I put the trains the opposite way around. Train stations. I mean, this would be the easiest one to turn around, wouldn't it? No, I think I'll just do... Oops. I think I'll just have them both coming in. Like use the extra space to work out what the heck I'm going to do with stacking. We're stacking. We're stacking. So if I sort of pump this over a bit, I think that way. So maybe, oh, I should have Oh. Oh, it doesn't matter. So, I guess it needs to be some of which way then? So, want this to exit, these will have to exit on the right. And then exit on the left, on the right. Yeah, I think you're going to end up with a sort of a weird junction no matter what, but I've at least got a bit of room to play with here. And what am I actually trying to achieve? I'm trying... Now there's the big question. Maybe I could do it at one of them? Because I could have a split here. Not particularly elegant, but one of them could connect to that. Just go to there. Which is which? Copper's used slightly more. It's going to be over the great distance of the great quantity of time. That's going to use more, isn't it? Going to be more trains, basically. Okay. So that's a pretty horrible junction, but it's quite a speeding through one. C block is same as Angel Bob with less mining. Oh right, okay. So as you're there, Belly, and you've experienced quite a lot of them. Someone was telling me because I was planning on doing an Angels playthrough. That was sort of my thing, but it's based mainly on that the fact that alphabetically Angels comes first. There was no particular logic to that. But Sol was saying that that's actually a more complicated mod than, or there's a lot of quality of life stuff in Bob's, and so it might be easier if I was just to do one, to do Bob's rather than Angels. So I could move that up 3. On each side, taking 2 image out there. Okay. Okay. Signalling then. So, if you're coming in from there, would I be better? I'd probably be better putting it a bit further up. And then both can exit. It's a confusing mess of signal options. So this is the 2 stack points, and that's the sort of pass out point. Do I want to put, because that's, it's basically, do I want that as a, I say it's a bit rubbish in a sense, but might be just easier to block it all off like I normally do. So I can move these up a bit. Anyway, so I need, yes, that there. No. Do I want, because you won't enter. Because there's different types of trains that basically, they won't be attempting to go between the two storage stations. They'll only be going to the one they want to go to. But at the moment I've completely blocked off that as an option, haven't I? Because I guess if that was a regular signal, that's not going to be in the blueprint. The blueprinty bit is going to be, in fact, that should be a regular signal. And in fact, those should be as well. Because say they're not. It's not actually. It's not like an options thing, and these are going to limit to two trains anyway, because of my preference for dumbness. I might do some logic on it. I don't know, but there's always sort of two trains. I say the one's a copper one, one's an iron one. So the iron one, you've either got a train in there and it's leaving. I suppose this at the moment could theoretically block the system. It'd have to be right next to a miner, because if you've got one sat in there, then another train could come in and try and go in there. I don't think there's enough room there anyway. I've not quite done that like that. So if we've got this situation, yes, not enough rooms. I could fit on it in a minute. But say it's going in there. This train heads off, second slot opens here. This train has to wait until it's all the way through there. It's not going to take very long at all. So in theory, another train could be going, oh, I want to go in there. And so it's attempting to get in. But the way this junction is signalled anyway, if I did something like that. So do I need those signals? I don't really, do I? Probably better off without them. Because all this is going to try and do is go into here. And then that one tries to leave. So I could put these a bit closer, I think. That one tries to leave. This is just trying to stop 5 trains crashing, 2 trains rather crashing through here. And once it's through and it's waiting at this signal, that's fine. And say that has to wait there. I suppose in theory they could smack into each other there. I don't know what the distances are. Oh, I can't really move that. Yeah. I can move this down though. Oops. Nothing wrong with OP weapons modules inserters though. Oh right, bots too. You haven't lived until you've had bots moving at 1,000 kilometers an hour. Wowzer. That's like 1,000 kilometers an hour. I was trying to do it because obviously speed of sound is 340 meters a second, isn't it? So that's why it's nowhere near that. But that's some impressive bot speed. I bet I mean they're almost like teleporting at that speed, aren't they? Because 1,000 kilometers on the map is like quite a distance, isn't it? Isn't one tile meant to be 1 meter or something? Right. So we do need another signal here. Basically because what? Because how far up could I take this? So we could go there's a straight bit of track there, so it could go up to that point. Otherwise I can move it all up by one straight bit of track. But I need a signal here. Because otherwise the other train isn't going to be able to get in, but it's just a regular signal. In order for the train, because it's a bit of a strange thing I've done there. Can I do that? Bit is it? Need to be there, maybe. What was I saying? I could sort of move the track one further down. I can still connect it. What does it look like if I do that? Oops. Oh, it cannot be mined, I guess, because there's a train on it. No, it doesn't make a lot of difference, though. Because I still can't. Or can I? I never know with the trains where the like end point is. Is that in that? If I let's get rid of you. What am I testing here? Basically, if that goes there, that becomes red. It becomes red because there's two options gone. Yeah. So that does just fit. Yeah, it could. Oh, and actually, it would move further up anyway. Be slightly further up. Because I've not positioned that very well manually. Okay. So there's stacking now, but it's a strange sort of stacking because it's stacking of trains for two separate types of items, and I'm not doing a diagonal stacker, which should be a bit more probably universal, but then it'd be we need a diagonal stacker that sort of length. And is that really gaining? It's not. Well, it'd actually be further over. I could move this one train piece further that way. But yeah, if I had a diagonal stacker here, it'd be out past where that thing is. So I could do other things. I mean, I could have, train could come around here and we could have diagonal stackers and all sorts, but I don't think that's going to really help me. So the question is, I think I want this to be a bit further that way, so that there's a less of a run up here. Or maybe I make it just sort of fairly even between the two. Because this will only ever be turned on if there's one train's worth of stuff in the boxes, and it would be turned on to one. So it would literally be one train, please, at any one time. Put that out of the way. If I add that onto the thing now. So the fact that there's signalling there, I don't really need one at the end because all it's doing is giving a tiny bit of extra track for it to do calculations on, which is irrelevant. This here, I think, is the absolute minimum I can get away with number of signals wise. It means that this is a exclusive junction, basically. I don't think that's going to make, because they are going to get out of sync, even at startup when they're doing the first couple of runs. There's slightly more demand on one material than the other, so they will eventually become out of sync anyway. But we'll have one train in the station and one set on the track waiting to come in. and it converts it into only one there. So that gives a nice sort of buffering, I think, effect. Now, question then is, how much do I actually want in these chests? Because I don't necessarily want a million tons of material, because it takes ages to sort of sink itself. And do I just keep these as dumb 2 train stations? So I mean, if it was a row, that's basically a train's worth between them. So you've then got a train of material, hopefully backed up, if I do let it run and just sort of fill up. And 2 trains worth there, filling into this, which is a train's worth, and an actual train there. I think I'm happy with that. It's a lot more space. It's a lot bigger than I was hoping. So all that squishing of modules and stuff together sort of become irrelevant, really. I'm tempted to flip this round. So, you know, I could move the whole thing up a bit. Just, you know, 1 train's worth. And then this then becomes a triple threat junction. So I'd have to move up several, I think. But I could also squish it in. I could then tighten it up on both sides. And I say we've got a bit of a train higgledy-piggledy mess, but I'm not sure that matters. 3 times Savo, it is. I thought it was getting into that territory. What I could do, get rid of this here. And maybe this goes up here somewhere? Where would you be? So if that was, say, there, and that was there, put you in the middle, so there-ish maybe? And I want that connecting here as well. Where have I put that? I put that there. Can I put it here? Will you connect? Doing the wrong series there. I'm thinking about it aesthetically. Yeah, it feels like I should rearrange this basically so that the train is, you know, on the stop is on that side, and that I can have another messy junction here, but it at least allows me to make it much more compact, and then I can just put these down like next to each other, next to each other, next to each other. Because at the moment, if I want to put one next to this, well, I could blend them in like that, couldn't I? But at the moment, it's going to have to be, well, I'd need to leave another track space, so it would actually be here. So it's miles away. Yeah, I think I'm going to squish it all together. That does mean turning this round. Okay. Okay. I'm sure millions of people have solved this in a better way. That's sort of not the point of this series, really. And I do always say it's the designing that it's fun. So Right, so this needs to all move up now, doesn't it? Because if a train pulls in there, we're one tile off. Okay. How am I going to do that though? Yeah, okay. Because if I just literally move this up, it's not going to work. Do that. We've now got weirdness going on. Oh, did I messed up then? Let's disconnect these two first. I'll do that again. I don't know why I turned them round in the first place. That's pretty dumb. So, how the heck do I connect that to that? What did I do on this side before? Oh, I turned this round, didn't I? So, that then, yeah, because that's the belt going across. If I flip this round, or flip that like that. No, that didn't work. It didn't work either way. So, I think I'm going to have to... Which one should I do? I do that one. So basically this one is going to have to go this way. One place. It wouldn't be one of my builds if there wasn't at least a little bit of spaghetti somewhere. Okay, so that flips that round. So now this is all gone and irrelevant. Now it needs to move up a bit. Up a bit, left a bit, right a bit. Up a bit. Is it 2 bits? I think it's probably going to be 2 bits. And then... I think I already squished this, didn't I? I can squish it a bit more, I think. Because... No, let's leave that there. Oops. What did I do? So this... can go... That's too close. Oops. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, that's perfect. So that's that train. Like that. And then this train will be here. Could be still there, Ellie, but what are you playing through at the moment? Are you doing any mods? So if I connected that there, then I caused myself a bit of a problem. Because that's going to attempt to pass through that signal. Maybe this wasn't a good idea. Because that needs to connect there as well. I've got 2 straight bits, so move the whole thing up or the whole thing down. But basically that needs now that. And this needs to be one of those. And I need that there. It's all a sort of horrible crossing over mess now, isn't it? Doesn't feel like that's going to be better. But we shall see. Oops. Take it slow and make it look somewhat nice. No overkill builds. Okay. Is there not another? No. Doesn't make any difference. I don't know. I put that there because it's not connected to anything. There we go. Actually, if I line those up, it's probably a bit nicer, isn't it? A bit tidier. Nothing wrong with tidy. So, does that conceptually work? I mean, it works, but this, I've got two sort of knotty junctions. One worse than the other. Could move this down a little bit, couldn't I? I didn't reconnect the thing, did I? This. No, I didn't. So trim limit is set by that. And it only goes to 1 when there's a train's worth of green circuits. These are a dumb system. I think that's better for UPS. I don't actually care, but it always feels like if there's less logic going on, it's at least got less to think about. But this is just literally, give me 2 trains, and it'll have 1 in the station, 1 there. I say in theory we could get a logjam here of some description where if through some miracle there was a train arriving as this one is departing, could sit on this tracks, but it's literally going to sit there until this one has moved to this point, at which point the next one can move in, and then either that one leaves or the other leaves. The nature of the T-junction I've designed, it wouldn't, even if it was trying to come in here, it wouldn't block the junction, it would block the main line. And I say it'll just wait for it to clear. So what sort of pause is it going to be? The only caveat to that is that if I ended up with, you know, 6 of these in a row, then yeah, it might be a problem. But I could always distribute them around the map, you know, make them relatively close to the red circuit build, the blue circuit build, rather than all just sort of stacked together, close together, just to reduce transit time. Okay. Okay. Cool. So if I do that, so we want transit names, we want modules, we want, I just call this the train version of green circuits. Cool. Oh, don't be hate. Squishing me head then. Microphone, headphones. Right. Cool. So I completely forgot what I did at the beginning. I think that one of those will feed what this needs, or if not, yeah, because it's 3.4 belts it needs, and it's producing 4. Okay. So that could be that would be our first off-site, you know, sort of proper production. Everything else is bringing in raw material. Cool. Okay. So if I was to do that, would that then add up? Having a good hard think. Yeah, cool. So it's over. I mean, it gets weird because this has got integrated green on the red circuit build. But yeah. I suppose the question for this one then would be, it needs iron plate coming in. So I need to do a iron plate build, don't I, and a copper plate build. Because it can't, I mean, they wouldn't be where they are. It wouldn't be next to it, I don't think. Unless there's a nice spot. Happens, well, that's not a bad spot. So you could mine those directly. But I need to work on the iron, the iron plate train build. And a copper plate train build, I think, next. Okay. Right then. Yeah, okay. I've forgotten something. Okay, let's get rid of that. And what do I need? I need smelters. We can zero all these out. Don't need them. I got them already. Bacon, so I've got some bacon. Got my power poles. Not a lot on the power poles on the rest of them. There we go. Okay. So. Yeah. Okay. Given how I built that one, it's probably best to think of it actually in vertical terms. I do all of these designs maybe vertically. I'm thinking on this is to design this double side loading on both sides. Not quite a direct insertion build. We'll still use belts and stuff, but I think then I can get away with 4. Like that. Do the old simple splitting. Okay. And then am I beaconing this? I think I am. I still fancy doing 12 beacon for the steel, because I'm just a glutton for punishment, really. I wonder. Go. I'm just wondering if I can put these in such a way. I don't think I can I? It's always going to be too much. But, too much sort of room required because of the mismatch between the sizes and stuff. Where's the bacon? Yeah, you see. Mm-hmm. Could squish them up, obviously. But oops. Mm. So I'm thinking of, can we do... Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brilliant. Hey! Somebody can't count. So what I was wondering about, doing my little trick again, the old flip it onto the other side of the belt thing like that. So you just can't fit a smelter and a bacon. There's no room for bacon, which is never a good thing. And you can't do that. I mean, you could do that because you could underground it, couldn't you? That's going to be pretty wasteful in terms of, might as well 12 beacon it if I was doing that. Okay, never mind. Maths has beaten me again. So, how many do I need? If we were to say, I guess I probably am better building this. Like wider rather than taller, I think. Hmm. Oh. How many do I actually need? I got this completely misaligned, haven't I? So, that outbelt's more than the belt's worth. But can I tweak it with the number of beacons? So if I get rid of that. Wait, what? Why did that not? Wait, 0.062. 0.078. Wait, what? Why are you... Oh. 1.063, okay. Level 7. 3. Slightly under. Okay. So 013. So if this was, oops, that, and then that. Oh, of course. Silly Billy. Cool. 4.053. Ever so slightly over. Right. Okay. So that needs to be 2 up, doesn't it? So I can get the iron in there, say. And then two down. Out. That's how I use my little... Is it an even number? It should be. Oops. 14. Yeah, so 7. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. Yeah. 11 Trickerino. And then I think don't we have that one as a stack. To try and compensate for that. Because the aim of these builds is to try and do them as like full belt builds. That's sort of what I've been decided I'm going to do. There's no, I don't think there's any particular logic to that. It's what I fancy doing, really. Although that one's actually slower, isn't it? So maybe that one should be a stack as well. Okay, and then if I copy that up. That. Oh, do I want to have... Huh. Do I do that? Hmm. Oh! Shot my own machine then. Because I press C rather than Control C. Right, so we copied that across there. So these are the ins, aren't they? And these are the outs. Am I just trusting that everything's balanced? Because going over the thing again, I'm going to need some stacking going on somewhere. But I'm thinking, you know, more diagonal stacking basically. So this is pumping out 4. Oh, of course, I took the thing, took the bits and pieces out. I've not messed this up as well. Just quickly trying to check. We've still got the same. Yeah, it's ever so slightly over 4 belts. Okay, need power poles then. I don't suppose these would reach, would they? I could underground some. So which ones do I need to underground? Need to be that one. And then, so that's 3 in, is it? There, and then 1 there. But then, I don't know, back anyway. So that's maybe underground. Yeah. There. There. And then we can have the same thing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Let's put this on so I know which ones are actually connected. Oh, started running. And then I guess I need to... Wait, that was wrong, wasn't it? So I could put them there. I'm just wondering if I could sort of rearrange them. I don't know. Can I? Oh, I can actually, can't I? Because Wait, they're inconsistently beacon, aren't they, on the two halves? If they do that? Yeah, that's 0.498. And that's 515. Nuts. So I can't do my little trick because I've unevenly beaconed them to try and get it down to exactly about. But I could just put another bacon in. It's that one. The problem is that's a 7 basically. So basically, move that one back in. Oh wait, no, that what? Oh no, it's if I have that one back. Why does that seem weird? So that goes up to 0.515. And that's 0.515. So yeah, they're evenly numbered now. Okay. So that works. But what I was just wondering is, could I flip these round effectively? So what would that look like? So if I sort of cut that, flip that like that, do you reach across? So we can flip this one over, don't we? So we cut, not copy. Like that. There we go. Is everything even still? So you're oh, lost the recipe. So you're doing 1.03, 1.03, 3, 1.03, and then the two halves, 515, 5, and they're out. I don't need to pick them again. That's fine. Oh, need to change these though, obviously, because this is filtering to the wrong side. Left, left. Oops. Right. Okay. Okay. How do I want to do this? So, 1, 2. And we could move the whole thing one up, and then it would at least be sort of even on both sides. I don't know why I'm caring about the aesthetics in any way, shape, or form. I guess just got into the habit with the aesthetic series. So then I can put that into there. So it's kinky, but it's universally kinky, which is not a bad thing. Okay. So obviously disconnected this. So it's going all flashy. It's going all flashy. Yeah. Okay. So question to say I shouldn't forget about this time is, well, actually, let's copy that whole thing. Nah. Oh, I got train stop, didn't I? That. Put in there. So, a couple of random belts. Okay. So, what am I doing stack-wise? Because we need iron ore trains. Potentially going in here. Wait, if I line those up. No, that's okay. So where am I stacking everything? That's the question. I could, as I could do some funky weird stuff I've been doing with aesthetic series and have, you know. Oops, come on. Oops. That sort of a thing. It's going to end up huge then, though, isn't it? Because then you can diagonal stack. Oops. Thought that might be more even. It really was not. What would a stack it? I guess it would be. Oops. Damn you, auto placement. Wait, what did I do? Let's see. Well, maybe it's connecting that properly, something, but. Oops. This needs to connect. Is it that wide? No, that seems wrong. No, come on. You. There we go. So we're going to have, you know, one waiting to come in. I wonder what happened if I ended up having it, like, you know, so it was that effectively next to it. Would that be a good or a bad idea? You know, and I could just then just keep extending it? More and more? And then potentially you can have another sort of set running along the opposite sort of end. Eventually you're going to reach a point where there's so many trains trying to travel through, they're all slowing each other down, aren't you? Did something like that. As I say, could then, if you're thinking about it in that terms, could just literally have straight stackers, straight stackers, it's your straight stacker. Or, so if we were thinking about it in those terms, could do. Why am I double loading this? Again, because it's 4 lanes of iron coming out. Four lanes of iron coming out. Do I really need it loading at 8 lane speed? It's just going to have more demand for trains, isn't it, really? I keep talking myself out of doing this. Hmm. It's what I was actually thinking for the smelting. Is that I quite like the idea that this is self-contained stacking, but just for smelting, just because the idea of say of just having maybe like an infinite row of continuing infinite row of sort of smelting. The stacking's not built into the system, and I can then just have a universal stacker. If I can build one. Could be a diagonal one, I guess, or whatever. Again, I'm never convinced they save that much room. But if it's a, you know, a U-bendy stacker, and I can just keep adding more on. I do worry with those, though, that the logic for the trains can get a bit interesting. And you end up with some trains just sitting there for ages and others, you know, running continuously. Because I'm actually wondering if this... I keep moving towards doing like single direction trains as well. Because it'd be fairly easy to have them both loop in. And then they could go out again. That becomes a sort of self-contained design. No, I think I'll just... What I need to do is basically put these up sufficient... Like, again, it comes down to this thing again, doesn't it? Of, if I put them... If they have separate T-junctions, it's probably not going to be quite as good. Whoops. Quite as good throughput-wise. And this is going to be pretty high throughput, especially over a universal stacker. Sorry, I'm mumbling to myself again. I'm doing the thing again. I'm doing the mumbling again. Because if that was, say, the entry of that one, could I squish it into... That's, I mean, that's more than enough room, isn't it? So if this is the next one here, because that allows room for the train to be in that gap. I mean, it's more than enough room. If I was to do it there, would I be causing myself problems? Hmm. Yeah. I think I'm thinking this through too much now. So just going to T-junction in. I suppose these probably wouldn't actually be T-junctions if this was the what it was. It'd probably be just a right turn. They are some universal design. But which way do I want it to go? Because I could have it we could have it actually aligned with this one. Because I think it's the ore that I want to stack up really, rather than the iron plate. Because we could have, in fact, this could be integrated stacking. So it's always got one train sort of waiting to go. Or waiting to come in. I connected that to the wrong thing. That's the output. Oh, that's right. There we go. So wait, what? No, I need to move it up. Let's put the train in and get less confused. So, that train there. I've got a blooming train template for this. I don't know why I keep doing it by hand. So that's where the signals would meet. And it's left-hand drive, so that needs to be connected to that one. That needs to be connected there. I'm going to put a T-junction because I've lost the plot with that. Let's do T-junction there. Do that again. So that's that one. I need this. That's the input. No, that. Oh, the whole thing needs to move up, doesn't it, if I'm going to do that? This needs to be further up. Yeah, because I want a second line for another input, and I want the output. Yeah, so 3 of these. There and there. That. I think well, it's 6 o'clock anyway, it's normally when I stop, but I'm going to have to stop because I've started to confuse myself. Right. Like so. No? Simply a matter, simply a case. Simply a case. What happened there? Yeah, I'm definitely getting more confused than I was, and I was already quite confused. Yeah, so that should be a chain, so that can be a signal, and that can get confused because I've connected the input to the output. So that's the output. These are the 2 inputs. And we want... Wait. Why do I need 2 inputs? I don't need 2 inputs, do I? Yeah, I've lost the plot. Or do I? How many trains do I guess it depends on the travel time, which I have absolutely no idea of. Because it can take, if it's going to take absolutely ages for any train to arrive, because the ore's like, you know, 1,000,000 miles away, then yeah, I probably do want a good amount of stacking, trains stacked up. But if it's actually relatively close, in terms of transit time, then it doesn't matter having that many stacked up. I suppose this allows for this situation I was saying on the other one, especially if I do these in a massive row, where one train's busy leaving and another one's trying to come in to replace it. That's more likely to be a problem with this. Whereas with this, we've got, I suppose in theory it could happen still, but this way I've got much like more of a, the train that's waiting will be miles and miles away. It won't be coming in. I suppose that would happen anyway. But we'll do it like that, and I'll put this. This will be a 3. Just trying to get 3 stations in, and that's the unload. So, how does any train fit on this? So if it's waiting here. I think actually I could signal it there, couldn't I? Yeah, so they're waiting to go in. I guess really that should be a chain signal. And it's blocked because there's all 3. Why are you flashing yellow? Cannot divide segment. Oh, it's doing that again. I still don't really understand what that's meant to mean. So would this be a... No, I think that's fine with regular train signals, isn't it? Cannot divide segment. How do I avoid too much crossover here? Just literally go straight over, maybe? Still cannot divide segment. Cannot divide segment. So you're coming in like that. What is your problem? What is your major malfunction? So don't get why that flashes like that. I think that could be just a regular signal, can't it? Because there's just one coming out at any one time. I don't mind if they queue up there. Could put, put signals here, but what's that going to achieve? Basically, actually it could be regular anyway. But if this is red, it's because there's a train, trying to get out, basically. I guess that could be a chain instead. I don't think a lot of this makes any difference though, does it? But yeah. It'll just wait there to clear the whole thing. Maybe it should be closer. It says sort of things that you'd have to have a mega throughput system for it to, really matter. And I'm just not clever enough to design something like that anyway, so who cares? So this is coming in here. Oh, that's going to be a problem though, isn't it? Because you're going to be red. And that stopped that train coming in. But then there's a train there anyway. So if I take that out, do we get a blue signal? Yeah, we do. So that one could get in because it's going to a completely bit like the copper iron situation before. Although this one is still giving this business. In fact, where's that actually from? Because that's not part of the blueprint, is it? Where the heck has that come from? I bet that's from when it's a right-hand turn rather than a T-junction. Let's plop it down on top again, see what difference it makes. Yeah, that's not there anyway. Unless I've done a right-hand turn, which, you know. In fact, these should be different, I think. Yeah, okay. Just getting confused because it's the wrong type of junction. So, and I guess if there was a signal there, it would allow it to clear out a bit quicker. I don't. It's the type of thing because it's just there's not good. I guess that enables them to move basically. But there's not going to be a train sat here waiting, or if there is, the whole thing's log jammed, so it's sort of irrelevant. Get rid of that then. Again, you know, better that I keep vacillating between it being a chain and a knot. I mean, I don't need it. I want it to wait there, basically. So if that train's waiting because there's stuff on the main line, I want it to wait there. Not here or here. I want it to move out of the way so that these guys can pull in. If this train is coming in, then these signals tell it that this bit is all clear. You know, we could have chains here to sort of shorten that check. It's going to make almost no difference whatsoever, though. And that's the check it's doing. I guess one thing I could just quickly look at is if this is here, like that. And, oops, this is open. Yeah, that's blue as well. So this could pull in if, you know, if there is a train here waiting. If it wants to get out. So I want it not to block this in any way, shape or form. So that should really be a chain then, shouldn't it? Because I only want this to go if it can go somewhere. That's the bit that wasn't right. Cool. Okay. So that's that side of it. Can't really. I mean, I could squeeze it up because I can put signals on here, but I don't think I'm bothered. So it's the unloading now. Why do those not look like the same place? No, that's fine. Right. I got space to play with. Move this up or down. Okay. Let's put a train in so I don't get too confused. I'm just going to finish this off basically. And then I'll call it a day. Don't have power connections on all that stuff, do I? So where would be a good place for those? Well, I'll do that in a minute. Have I got an unloady one? Do. Let's do that. Can I line these up? No. Oh. Why is that not right? It's a bit odd. Guess I misplaced it. Weird. Okay. So that there. Is that on that side? That there, that there. That'd be vaguely even, I guess. There. Have I done that? So I got a 1, 1. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And 1, 2, 6. Cool. Okay. Does it matter being on the other side? I guess not really. I can have it in the middle. But then, how have I loaded it? Oh! These ask you if... Oh no, that's in the middle, isn't it? In which case... Why don't I put that there? If I'm only doing the 4-box loading. This is what I was after before. It goes straight in. How have I managed to do that one? Okay, fine, whatever. Wait, is this right? Let's put it on again. Hey, hammering's back. Yes, who's back? Hammering's back. Right. That'll do. I need the undergrounds here. Got to do them. Need to put some lights on. Need to do some power. Okay. Then how did I do on this? So got. Oh, doesn't look like I actually did the lights on these. Whoops, have to redo that. We got, so at the training, there's one on the inside. Inside, outside. Inside, outside, inside. So inside, outside, inside, outside, inside. Okay. Now, we need to do some connections for power. So we know that's going to be there. Where can we put this that? So I can't connect that. That's annoying. That's annoying. How many tiles either side is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. What was I measuring there? So 1, 2, 3. Between the balancer, splitter, and the furthest over. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's always going to be uneven because of reasons. I think at the moment I could actually fit a lane balancer in if I really ended up needing to. Could fit one in there. And fit one in there with room to spare. Does that matter? Doesn't matter. I just think I'm moving one over so I can connect up the power poles more directly. Doesn't matter, I suppose. So if those are connected, let's put it there. And then Those are connected there. We only have to hook up one side. Oops. Can I put something here? Why does that not look right? Because it's not right. Oops. Put it there. Put a radar there. And everything is hunky-dory. So basically this is going to be one... I think this might be a circuit network one. I think. So what would it be? I guess it would be a decider maybe again? So... Oh, it's just doing... And let's not get too fancy at this stage of the day. Up to there. Back to there. So if I limit these to, say, a little bit of buffer. And then iron plate. No, that would be a steel plate. Over. I think this is 64. Oops, 64,000. And then output L, was it? So train limit, yeah. So when it's got more than a train's worth, come on in. Let's do, have I got a generator? What am I looking in there? I need to stop going slightly mad. We want, I guess, a duplicating. So this is iron. Coming out of there. Oh, I need to put the limits on those, the blockers on those. I haven't thought about fuel, have I? Where are my trains going to get fueled? Oh, put that. Oh, what's going? Oh, of course these aren't putting on both sides. What a dumbo. What a dumbo. Because that needs to be that, doesn't it? Oh, why are you not? Outputting it all. What? Why is that not? Okay. Am I being stupid? Why is that not putting anything on the belt? I think I'm gonna have to stop because that suddenly seems to be not working. And I don't understand what's going on. I've not gone the wrong way around or something. So it works like that. We've not changed our splitters, have we? What? What's that meant to be? That's meant to be copper. Oops. Unless I've set some condition on that. When he was based in destination. So that's a 4-to-1 balancer. And that's fine. But if I have it unloading onto the balancer itself, it's not fine. Has it always done that and I've just never realised? Oh, I think I'm gonna have to stop. No, I think I've lost the plot there. I don't. Why is that working? Stop working? Because surely you always used to be able to put it on the back side of the balancer, and because it feeds it into the balancer. It doesn't feed it onto the belt as such, does it? Okay. I think I'm losing the plot there. Okay. Well, that's it for today. Anyway, I guess I'll pop the schedule up, but it's not that interesting. So basically, could only hear this. Be back tomorrow. I will be playing Satisfactory. I will be working on the aluminium factory, basically. So I set all the train up. Ish. It's not. I don't think it's properly running, but no. Well, I've set the concrete up to put the train on, but the train is not technically there yet. But I'm going to build it properly, basically. So I'm going to, rather than add the trains in afterwards and realise that I've completely messed up all the balance and all that sort of stuff, I'm going to, sorry, this looks stupid because it's squished me here and it's quite painful. Yeah, I'm basically I'm gonna build the train stations in, the number of train stations. I've got to look up the number, and then take the belts off of those because I need the right amount of flow going on, and coming out and stuff. And then I'm going to have the actual aluminium production, and it's going to make both of the whatever they call the sheets and the boxes or whatever it is at that one factory. It shouldn't be too big a build, but. So we'll need to do that on Monday. Monday then will probably become basically like a random stream. I mentioned several times on the stream itself that I was getting a bit sort of bored in a sense, a bit sort of frustrated really is more the word with Satisfactory. So I may not stream it again for a while until I've done all my house move and stuff. So Monday might become a bit of a random stream. I'd quite like to. I've been playing a lot of 2 Point Hospital this morning with the fan in my face. So quite like maybe do a bit of that. Bear and Breakfast, I need to finish that off to the last cabin. And a couple other games that I thought I might randomly stream. Just no particular point to it, just because Mondays are still a fairly good time to stream and whatever. There's no series intention with any of them, I don't think. But yeah, so say Search Factory definitely tomorrow, and then I'll probably randomize it and just have some fun for the next couple of weeks until I have to do my move. So yeah, so if you have been watching it, hope you've enjoyed it, and you might consider coming back for another one. My foggy-headed, overheated brain aside. So yeah, so I say, been watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Might consider coming back again. I've been Trismegistus. This has been Factorio. Thanks for watching. Cheers.